The following episode of Ear Hustle contains language and content including a mention of a child molestation. It may not be suitable for all listeners. Discretion is advised.
I remember when I started learning, our teacher gave us like blindfolds to help us like with our bow positions and pitches. Nowadays, when I'm trying to learn new scales and stuff like that, I put on my blindfold and my friend Mark plays the piano and hits those notes for me, and then I just try to find it on the violin. My name is Daniel Lee. I turned myself in July of 2019, and I came to San Quentin in August of 2019.
You might remember Daniel. He was in our last episode.
Being in prison, that's a new situation where there's a lot to figure out. Have you ever done that, like metaphorically, put a blindfold on to help you figure out how to navigate prison?
When I first got here, I really don't know what to do or where to go to. And it really did feel like a blindfold. Like I was blind, like I don't know where to go. Who can help me out? And there's still a lot of things that I don't know.
I feel like I have a blindfold on too when I put on my music. Because when I put on both headphones and like turn the music up, it feels like the rest of the world doesn't exist. I'm just in my own world with the music.
Yeah, when I play the violin, I just concentrate on the violin. I don't really think about anything else, just thinking about the pitches, try to improve on my fingerings, bow movements, just trying to improve myself, just concentrating on myself and nothing else in the world.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Nige.
Uh-huh.
Music is really important when you're locked up. You know, it's a way to create your own world around you. You know, block out all that crazy shit.
Right.
Like, I remember I used to always listen to music when I was running. And if I didn't have my music, I didn't run. It kept me focused on what I was doing.
Yeah.
It kept my own thoughts out my head.
Yes.
And I always, like to weave through people, as I'm running and,
You mean like running that circle over and over and over again?
Because when you're in San Quentin, that's all you can do. You just run in a circle, running around people, running around the geese, up the thing, round the thing, back down. And with the music, I get into the music. I'm not thinking about my thoughts because I be singing a song.
Today on the show, we've made a mixtape for you. And this is actually, Earlonne, the third music episode we've done.
Yeah, and we get tons of mail asking us about music in San Quentin.
Oh, totally. So put your headphones on, forget about the rest of the world, because we are back with another Ear Hustle mixtape of songs and stories. I'm Nigel Poor.
And I'm Earlonne Woods. This is Ear Hustle from PRX's Radiotopia.
Can you sing that? It's really striking hearing music out in the yard at San Quentin. As someone going in, it's one of the things that really jumps out at you. And I remember, Earlonne, so clearly the first time I heard someone playing a sax on the yard. It's actually really extraordinary just to see like a lone figure out there in the yard. There's actually something really beautiful and mournful about it. Just hearing music in a place you don't expect it.
Yeah, I used to see guys playing the trumpet, guitars, beating on the tables, beating on their chests. You got the Native American guys playing the flute.
Yeah. But violins? I mean, come on, that's a new one.
I think San Quentin might be getting a little bourgeois.
Ooh, judgy, my friend.
And Daniel's not the only violin player.
Really?
Check out this other cat that New York found.
Ooh.
Hello, Rufael.
How long you been incarcerated?
Been incarcerated coming up on 15 years.
15 years.
Okay.
So it's more like Rufael.
Rufael is the...
Rufael.
Yeah.
You're a unique brother, man. You got the Jordan haircut, the Rufael Raphael,
Yes,
man,
sir.
and the violin.
And the violin.
How did these things come together, man?
So how do these things come together? In 2017, I was at a point in my life where I felt stale. I felt like I was on pause and just didn't really have a challenge in my life. And walking across the yard, I seen this guy playing the violin, and I was like, what the hell is going on? A violin in prison? And the sound, the joyfulness of it. So I approached this guy, and long story short, he was classically trained, got his bachelor's degree in music, and was willing to teach. At that point in my life, I was learning about the neuroplasticity of the brain. And this seemed to be like the perfect bridge between, can I learn something new in my older age? Can I really see if these new neurons can fire together and create this new way of being, right?
When you play violin on the yard, what is it like? How do people react to you?
We talking about now or you talking about the beginning?
Or now I want to know about both.
Yeah. So in the beginning, it was really interesting because I definitely had guys looking at me like, what the hell is you doing? And then I had some people that were true friends and true supporters and were like, man, I appreciate you taking your courage to the yard and just saying, you know what, I don't care. It sounds horrible. It sounds like cats is fighting. The beautiful thing that I think also I appreciate is it allows people to share their stories. So many people picked up the violin when they were 4 or 5 years old or when they were younger. And they come and they just want to share their story. Like, hey, man, I used to play it when I was younger, but then the kids started saying stuff to me, so I just put it down.
So there's a lot of guys in prison that would have played the violin had the homies accepted it.
Absolutely.
Rasan, New York Thomas, my God, it is good to be back on these mics with you.
Awesome. Finally, after 3 seasons on the bench, I'm
Crazy.
back.
COVID has really been scrambling our work at San Quentin. I can't believe that it has been 3 whole seasons.
It was ridiculously long, especially with all these splinters to show for it.
Why do you have splitters?
Sitting on the bench.
Oh, no.
That damn COVID.
Oh, man. But we've been able to do more work together down in the Media Lab these past 3 months, and things are kind of slowly getting back on track, as much as possible anyway.
Yep, and one more thing that's definitely back on track.
What's that?
The yard. Guys are out there and on a really crowded day, everybody comes out and the atmosphere is popping when it's really crowded.
I love that. Guys are out there playing basketball and working out, and lots of guys have headphones on, listening to music.
Must be music.
Sweet music, music everywhere.
But off to one side of the basketball courts, there's that one red brick wall.
Yes. And that's where we used to see our friends Quentin Blue, because they always played over there.
Exactly, but those guys blessed, they got out. So nowadays you'll see another group playing guitar.
Vicente. Mi nombre es Juan Rodríguez. Juan. Mi nombre es Martín Gómez. Okay. Yeah, we're talking about music.
There's these 2 Mexican dudes and this dark-skinned Cuban guy. He's older with a shiny bald head and a big bushy white brocha.
Brocha. I think I know what that is.
It's Spanish slang for mustache. This guy's name is Juan and he's their teacher.
Okay. Este es Do mayor. Okay? Okay, entonces...
So, Naj, these guys make a circle around Juan, and he teaches them all about scales and harmony. Juan is all about harmony.
Porque como se está hablando de armonía, se está hablando de respeto musical.
Because when you're talking about harmony, you're talking about musical respect.
Shout out to Edwin over at San Quentin News for hopping in as the interpreter.
He's doing a great job.
Awesome. So, Naj, Juan, the guitar player, he was born into music. His father was a well-known musician in Cuba, and Juan went to the National School of Art down there. In 1980, when he was 19, he moved to New York, and he tried to keep up with music, But things went way wrong for him. He's been in prison for 20 years now.
Yo había soñado con él, que estaba detrás de... Mira cómo me hizo.
So Juan told me about this dream he had not long after he got to prison. And Naj, while he was telling me this story, he pointed to his arm to show me that thinking about the dream still gives him goosebumps.
Estaba en un cañaveral parado así con la guitarra, con su sombrero y me estaba mirando. Y yo estaba así de lejos mirándolo.
In his dream he had, Juan saw a man across a sugar field. The man was holding a guitar. And somehow, Juan knew he needed to teach this guy how to play. So he told him, I'm going to show you how to play that guitar.
Yo te voy a enseñar a tocar esa guitarra que tú andas.
So why does he still get goosebumps when he talks about that story?
Because, Naj, after this dream, Juan couldn't find any students who wanted to learn from him. He kept offering, but guys would lose interest. Then he got transferred to San Quentin, and he noticed this guy, Vicente.
Pero yo lo veía siempre con su guitarra para arriba, para abajo, para arriba, para abajo.
But I used to see Vince going back and forth with his guitar all the time.
Y yo después pasaba y lo escuchaba tocar.
And then I used to go by and I used to just ear hustle what he was, playing.
Entonces yo le dije el día que me topé con él, yo te voy a enseñar a tocar guitarra a ti.
And I replied to him, I'm going to teach you how to play guitar.
Que yo le estaba pidiendo siempre a Dios, Señor, mándame a un maestro de verdad para enseñarme a tocar la guitarra.
This is Vicente Gomez, Juan's student.
I don't think I know the guy.
Yeah, it's my boy, man. He has a bushy mustache, and I call him muñeco.
What? What does that mean?
It means toy in Spanish.
Why do you call him toy?
Well, we used to work out together, and he'd be playing around. I know he can do more than that.
That's pretty cute.
So the crazy thing is that just as Juan has been hoping and praying for a student, Vicente's been doing the same thing, looking for a teacher. And then one day, Vicente spots Juan in the yard at San Quentin.
Cuando lo miré,
When I saw him,
yo caminé, iba caminando
I was walking,
y volteé para atrás y lo miré
and I looked around, I saw him,
y sentí
and I felt
el Espíritu.
the Holy Spirit.
Y dije, Señor,
God, I say, God,
¿esto qué será?
Father, what is this?
Esta es la ayuda que te pedí para enseñarme a tocar la guitarra bien.
This is
Esa
the
la
help that I
bendición.
ask you, that I've been asking you for, so I can learn how to play the guitar.
Me cayó de aquí
And feel my body that was
una
being
cosa
touched
muy
by something,
bonita, linda.
something so beautiful, so nice.
Caminé
And I just kept looking at him, staring at him.
y empecé a sentir ¿cómo se dice? La armonía.
I started to feel that. I started to
en mi
internalize. I started to feel
corazón,
the
en mi
harmony in my
cuerpo.
heart, in my body, as he's playing.
Y ya me dice, me quedé, yo le dije, Señor, dije, pues,
And I say, oh,
¿sabes
God,
qué? Este es el indicado que me va a enseñar.
He's the indicated one that was going to help me.
Me pone trabajos
He gave me a lot of work, tasks, homework.
que les puedo decir la verdad que hasta me hacía llorar del dolor.
I'll tell you, man, they're so complicated, they're so hard that it makes me cry when my fingers starting to get stiff.
Pero gracias a Dios
But by the grace of God,
que Él tiene mucha paciencia.
He has a lot of patience.
Y lo cual no lo ha dejado. Tenemos más de un mes ya.
And up to this day, been over a month now, and we're still going at it.
So he and Juan played something for you, right?
So you see what happened is Juan and Vicente weren't quite ready to play that day.
Okay.
So they left promising to practice and return to play for us in a week or two.
Okay.
But that was the end of July, and
Oh, dang. I think I know exactly where you're going.
yep, early August, some people in San Quentin tested positive for the COVID-19 Delta variant.
Yep. And the prison went on lockdown again.
Yep. For a month, nothing was happening, and we fell out of touch with Juan and Vicente.
Yeah, and we fell out of touch with you again.
Until, just as we're wrapping up the episode, Vicente shows up. He let us know Juan couldn't make it, and so I asked Vicente to go to his building to grab the guitar and meet me here at 2:30. And I feared he wouldn't show up. But at 2:35, he walks in the door with a big old smile and a guitar.
anda enojada, te veo preciosa. Te quiero, te amo, mi amor, te adoro. Me gustas, me encantas de todo a todo. Tus dulces caricias me vuelven loco. Soy todo tuyo de cualquier modo.
Whew, we got the recording.
Yes.
That ended well.
Totally.
And I like how this next one starts. New York's asking a question I've always wondered about.
What does it feel like to sit in that? You sit basically in a tent
Yeah.
with a fire in the summertime.
Yeah.
How do you do that without, how does that feel? How do you do that without passing out?
Guzman is Native American from the Ute and Blackfoot tribes. He's done time in prisons all over California. In fact, prison is where he started learning more about these Native American songs and stories and about sweat lodges.
And Nige,
Yeah?
when I saw Native Americans going into the sweat lodge at San Quentin, I always wondered, how did they deal with that heat?
Oh, I know.
First of all, we hydrate ourselves 4 days in advance, and we pray 4 days in advance, and some of us fast 4 days in advance. We don't go in there thinking it's going to be hot. We don't go in there thinking, oh, I'm going to burn up in here. We go in there thinking of our families, of our loved ones, of our crimes, of our victims, of all the people that we hurt along our life and our journey that we didn't acknowledge before. Now being in a good way and having the tools to understand who we are, we go in there in a good way. It's like we're being children again. It's kind of actually like being on a picnic somewhere with your family. And then you just go to a different place. You're free for those 4 hours that you're in the lodge. You cry, you smile, you feel your ancestors there. You become one with that heat. And it's the most beautiful experience you can have in the universe.
I just want to say, because this is audio, people can't see, but when you were talking, like your face just transformed. Your eyes got really wide and bright and full of light, and your face was so happy. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. We have a saying, "Mitakuyo yasin." In my language, "Tlasomochi no tilhuanyolme," all my relations. When brothers, natives use that word, it means that we're connected to everything that grandfather and mother has created. From the four-legged to the winged to the water animals to the creepy crawlies. We call ourselves the pitiful two-legged. We were last to be created. In this way, we can understand our place. This is a song, it's a women honoring song. You sing it 4 times, one for each direction. It's a power song. Meshik tampui tampegri, meshik tampui conspewa yeve, meshik tampui tampegri, meshik tampui conspewa yeve mahiwa, honkahima, tantanka yamani kiwajese, tantanka yamani kiwajese. Meshik tampui tampegri, meshik tampui conspewa yeve, meshik tampui tampegri, meshik tampui conspewa yeve mahiwa, honkahima, tantanka yamani kiwajese, tantanka yamani kiwajese. Meshik tampui tampegri, meshik tampui conspewa yeve, meshik tampui tampegri, meshik tampui conspewa yeve mahiwa, honkahima, tantanka yamani kiwajese, tantanka yamani kiwajese.
Mexik tampui tampegri, mexik tampui conspewaebe, mexik tampui tampegri, mexik tampui conspewaebe mahiwa, honkahima, tantanka yamaniki wajese, tantanka yamaniki wajese. Thank you.
Next cut on our mixtape, back out to the San Quentin yard for a quick gospel hit.
The D finna put it down for his best friend. It goes, my best friend, this relationship we have will never end. You are my best friend, that's right. You're my best friend, and this relationship we have will never end. The tightest friend that I have up in my life is the kind of friend who makes sure everything's alright. He keeps it real, never squeal, bite the bullet if he must. My best friend in the world, name's Jesus. I said he died for me so I could see some brighter days.
Erlon, that really gets you in a church mood.
Indeed, I was over here like, hey.
Snapping along?
Nah, that was cool. Now, we're going to flip this mixtape over. And for side B, we're going to escape San Quentin and go outside the gates.
That's after the break.
Right here. Say something.
1, 2, 1, 2.
All right, cool.
This is Bobby Gonzalez.
Bobby Guns for show.
Right.
He's from San Jose here in the Bay Area. Growing up, Bobby's mom was dealing with a lot of stuff. Addiction, abusive relationships, all that.
So most of the time, Bobby lived with his grandma.
And all I did was ask when I could live with my mother again. And they just told me when I was 18. And when you're 8, that's a century away, you know.
But before he hit that 18-year mark, Bobby was getting in trouble. And actually, some of the first adults Bobby really felt connected to were 2 counselors in juvenile hall.
Mr. Crockett, Mr. Franklin, definitely shout them out every time. Honestly, just as simple as just sitting at the edge of my bunk and hearing me as I cried, and that was it, right?
When he was 16 years old, Bobby was sentenced to 25 years to life for murder.
Now he was headed to the pen. Before he left, he packed a few things that his counselor, Mr. Franklin, had given him.
Franklin gave me a pencil, gave me a notebook, said that, you know, he had always heard me as the little rapper dude, so, you know, he felt that writing it down was going to be a part of some type of healing. It would help me keep sane. And I'd say for the first 8 years, that's all I really did was write.
Bobby Guns created a whole nother world within the 4 corners of that notebook.
I stayed writing, writing down thought, writing down notes, writing down rhymes. Not necessarily songs yet, but for the most part, I was realizing that I was starting to come to some type of healing.
Nige, I saw a lot of guys inside do this. Pick up a pen and paper and express themselves. Some cats couldn't articulate it in a conversation, but through their writings, they could.
Right.
It's like writing a letter. You know, you have time to reflect. Look at stuff that happened to you, stuff that you did to other people, you know?
Oh, yeah. I totally remember being down in the media lab and there'd be guys kind of like pounding the table and getting their thoughts out and then sharing it. It was really cool.
Yep. And with Bobby, word soon got out about this penitentiary lyricist.
I started getting a little attention from other spots. Dudes would roll up from different prisons and had heard about this rapper dude, Bobby Guns, and, you know, on some battle rap.
These prison battles? Not the physical ones, but
right.
the rapping.
The verbal ones?
The rapping.
Yeah.
It goes down. I mean, cats just get there. One dude beating on the table, one dude beating on his chest, whatever, and dudes be just rapping, and then some dudes be like, they just suck.
Oh.
Sometimes those battles be good. You know what I'm saying? You sit there and watch dudes, and it's a trip because some dudes be on some gang shit, some dudes be on some regular shit. You know what I'm saying?
There was dudes trying to battle me, and if they lost, it might be a fight. They trying to fight me afterwards, right? But it was through that challenge of like, nah, I believed music was like this was gonna be a bridge. I don't care how many tats you got on your face. I don't care how many bars you're rapping about being the hardest. We're gonna connect. We are friends. It isn't just it's not gonna just be some lyrical fight going on in the middle of the yard.
So, like a coach telling his team to save their aggression for the field, Bobby started getting all these guys who wanted to battle rap and sat down to write with them.
And of course, it wasn't just about like talking about music or talking about songwriting. It was about what brings us to a point where we believe in music in such a way that it could free us from metal and concrete. Like, what gets us to that point?
And for Bobby, hearing other guys talk about the traumas they went through growing up helped him start looking into his own life too.
All this fear and confusion that I had been dealing with since 5 years old after being molested by a 13-year-old boy was really something to bury deep down inside me and never let out. And how I do that is by being violent.
Finally, Bobby did open up.
I just found the courage to share with my own parents about being molested, something that I've always kept away from them. And it's incredible how throughout my life, I felt that it is something that I needed to bury down and that not even my own parents would love me after knowing such a secret and blaming myself. They loved me, cried with me through it. Of course, it's easy to say, like, I wish I would have done that when I was 5 years old, but I was 5 years old,
A couple of weeks after Bobby had this conversation with his parents, he was back in his writing group, and he decided to tell them his story too.
Fear and confusion and resentment was being molested at 5 years old by a 13-year-old boy and not knowing how to understand that.
Time and I have not been friends for quite some time.
And Naj, it wasn't just incarcerated guys in that group that day.
Who else?
Common was there.
Oh, yeah, Common. I remember seeing him when he came to San Quentin.
Yeah, I remember we took the picture and hung out in the studio.
He was very cool. And Earlonne, a lot of musicians come into San Quentin, but Common seems just a little bit different. He's dedicated. I think he goes into prisons on a pretty regular basis.
Yeah, Common's a real one.
That day, being in that circle with Common, one of the things that compelled me in that moment was Common just simply saying, like, yo, I know we see cameras here. We see all this. But I come here to listen to something I need to listen to. I come here to learn. And I raise my hand. I put that desk that desk through a beating real quick.
Time and I have not been friends for quite some time. Ooh, time. Time and I have not been friends for quite some time. Look, as my pen writes, it's just me and this dim light. Sitting in a 5x9, trying to find you some insight. Cause I ain't never really been the type to let just anyone into my psyche. But tonight I'ma make an exception. I hope.
And later that day, when Common performed for a few thousand incarcerated guys there, he called Bobby Guns up on stage with him.
Oh, that's great. So, E, You were in touch with Bobby pretty recently. What's he up to these days?
He's doing good. I mean, he got out in 2019 and actually went back into prison with Common to perform a little while back.
Oh, wow.
I think he's still trying to figure out what freedom looks like, you know?
To me, it was still the scent of the grass of the neighborhood I grew up in, and the way it smelled getting off the light rail, and the way that, you know, San Jose air could be nice and crispy and wet my shoes if I walked through the grass on my way to school. Like, all those little things played a part in what I once thought would be freedom. But if I just go home, it's not going to be the healthiest for me. Freedom eventually came to be jumping off the cliff, coming to Los Angeles, into all the unknown, right? Learning metro system, how to ride the bus from point A to point B, and how to show up to work for the first time, you know. And I'm coming fitted with my tie. I'm gonna be hip hop, but at the same time I'm gonna be grown, you know. Like, I'm gonna show up, you know, like
all the time. All right, Nige, for these last 2 cuts on our mixtape, we're gonna do a little throwback.
Ooh, throwback. Nice.
Yep. We're gonna catch up with some friends we made inside who are now out here in the world.
Who's up first?
All right, identify yourself, man. Who are you, dog?
What's going on? It's your boy, Eric Maserati E. Abercrombie.
And you've been on Ear Hustle a few times.
Absolutely.
Maserati, Erlon. Oh, I'm so happy to hear his voice. I think about him all the time when he was down at the Media Lab, and he'd carry like that stack of journals that were just filled with handwritten lyrics.
Yeah, and I know you liked it because they were all weathered. They would probably be on your wall or something.
Oh, they were like a work of art. You know me very well.
Yep, he's out now, and he has a cool new gig.
I know. I'm so proud of him.
Yeah, he is the sound design instructor for KLW's podcast, Uncuffed.
Yes, and Uncuffed records right next to us inside the Media Lab at San Quentin.
As well as Solano State Prison.
Right, not too far.
So it's a collaboration between the both.
Yep, great show.
Punch me in from the wall. Real shit, whoa. Yeah.
So I met up with Maserati and another guy from inside, Cuddy.
Oh, yes, Cuddy. I remember we talked to him for the first episode we did outside of San Quentin.
Yep, my first story from the outside.
Oh, such a good memory. Such a good memory.
Freedom. Maserati E and Cuddy have been spending a lot of time in the studios making music.
Hey, all right, will you play a little bit of it for me?
Game time. Where my phone at?
We up in the playoffs. I'm too determined, can't take off. Game changer like AI in this rhyme. Made the buzzer beat the bitches, game time. It's game time, it's game time, but it ain't a game at all. No, it's game time, but it ain't a game at all. I don't play it all. In my vicinity, I need that positive energy. Let's team build towards a winning streak. That's what my visions be. I see success in the industry. Hard to see happiness, blinded by misery. Yeah. Oh damn, been moving too fast, need to slow down. That's what they say, they don't know that. God got my steps on this whole path, I'm blessed. Even when I'm going through some things, they taking losses, learning lessons, really growing through the pain. Wishing people wasn't missing how you going through a change. See your people acting different, have you hoping it's a phase, whoa. Haters say, who do you think that you are? They throw shade, I can shine in the dark, I'm a star. I'm chasing the millions, it's breaking some hearts. They play with feelings, I play the guitar. It's game time, but it ain't a game at all. No, it's game time, but it ain't a game at all. I don't play it all. I wash my
hands in dirty water. It's
Erlon, I never get tired of seeing the passion that song brings out of you. Like, you throw your hands up, you look up to the sky. And listeners may remember this band, Quentin Blue. We mentioned them at the top of the show. They used to play out at that brick wall in the yard when they were inside San Quentin. And we knew them pretty well inside. They were actually on more than a couple episodes.
Yeah, and we've definitely used some bits of their music playing in our sound design, from the bass to the guitar to Richie to, Charlie. We've used all of them. But now, all of those guys who were in Quentin Blue have been released. So, for the last cut on our mixtape, we went down to LA to meet up with 3 of them.
It was so fun. It was just so fun to see you guys walk up the steps. It was surreal. It's really amazing.
Yeah.
It was fun to get to walk up steps.
Yeah.
They didn't have bars on the other side of them.
Dwight Crisman is the bass player in the group.
Yep, and he's a dope-ass player.
Yeah, and he got out of San Quentin during the first wave of the COVID pandemic.
I'm going to describe it as feeling like that circus clown that gets shot out of a cannon and he's like in midair and there hopefully the net is positioned in the right spot that you'll land in the net, you know? Initially, there was a lot of fear of like, I hope they didn't make a mistake. I hope somebody's not going to knock on the door and go, cuff up, Crisman, we goofed, you're going back.
That's tomorrow.
Richie Morris got out a little bit before Dwight. At the beginning of 2020, he'd been locked up for close to 35 years, and the world outside was pretty overwhelming.
I walked out the gate, and my son was standing behind me, and I didn't recognize him. I had to do a double take, you know what I mean? And then it dawned on me, hey, stupid, you're looking at your kid, you know? But it was just that kind of, it was almost disorienting.
Did you not recognize your son because it was out of context or because you hadn't seen him in so long?
He wasn't in the visiting room.
Yeah.
My son grew up spending time with me in the visiting room. He was 1.5 years old when I failed. He was 37 years old when I paroled.
Richie used that word disorienting. And I feel like I hear a lot of people use that word when they first get out.
Yeah, I mean, all sorts of different things can feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, seeing family, figuring out how to get around town, trying to order at a restaurant.
Oh, I know how you feel about menus.
Menus still get me to this day.
Too many options, right?
Too many.
Yeah, Erlon, like you said, it's disorienting when you get out. Really easy to get knocked off your game.
Yeah, and that happened to Richie this other time, too.
I was going north to visit my family. And the train stopped at Merced, and I left my bag on the seat. I left my guitar on the rack in the back. And when I came out of the bathroom, both my computer in my bag and my guitar were gone. I know who it was. I know exactly what he looked like. He was pacing up and down the thing, and I should have been on cue right there because I've been around people that are spun on methamphetamine for 30, 40 years, right?
How long were you in prison?
34.5 years, ma'am.
You're not used to being a victim.
No.
And you're used to reading your surroundings. So how did it feel to be on the other side of that? To know that somebody was looking at you as a mark?
Is it okay if I say it sucked?
I think that's probably pretty honest, yeah.
It sucked. But it brought to bear my own victimization of other people and how I mistreated people in the past. It brought it all around full circle, you know. I'm not trying to play a hard case or nothing, but nobody would dare do that to me in prison. But this guy skedaddled with my property. Nobody would dare to do that to me in prison, you know, because they knew what the consequences were.
You know, I was actually pretty surprised that a guy who had spent so much time in prison would let his guard down like that.
It's a trip. You know, when you're just out, since we've spent all this time in prison correcting our shit, and we've been around a lot of other people who've been correcting their shit, we have this false sense of, hey, it's all good. I'm safe. You safe.
But I have to say, I feel like you are always hyper aware of what's going on around you.
Yeah, well, yeah, now, because I've seen shit happen to people out here. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think you start questioning things again until you experience something happen. You know what I'm saying? You see the shit.
Until something bad happens.
Right.
And The things Richie lost, I mean, they weren't just random objects.
No, they were really important to him. I mean, music is everything to Richie. And that computer had the music and words to all the songs he had written.
Yeah, and that guitar, it wasn't just any guitar.
The guitar was a gift from my nephew, who is now deceased. He died of cancer when I was in prison. I didn't get to see him again. So I had a piece of him, right? My brother had entrusted me with it, and I was taking it up north to a luthier to get adjusted, get it fixed. And I had to deal with that and the feeling that I had failed again in my mission, right? Not cool. Not cool fresh out of prison, right? And I was on a mission. I was taking this thing up to get it fixed, right? And it just didn't work out that way. Didn't work out that way. So let's give it a try, see how it sounds.
Richie has a new guitar now.
Yep. So they tuned up and played one of Quentin Blue's new songs.
Falling, dappled sunlight through the gray, wishing I was somewhere else rather than being here today. Did you think that I'd forget the promises you made to me? Nothing more than empty dreams, words of insincerity. I can't stop the rain, it's out of my hand. Kinda like a wave line, I still can't understand. If I walk 1,000 miles, the questions would remain. You're there and I'm here, and I can't stop the rain.
I really have a special place in my heart for them. I love hearing them play. But there was one member of the band missing that day. So as the guys were packing up their instruments, you do what you do. You made a phone call.
Make it happen.
Here's Charlie.
Yeah, it's Charlie.
Charlie, this is Dwight and Richie and Billy.
Charlie was a longtime member of Quentin Blue.
Yep. As long as I can remember, he was there. And he was one of the best guitar players I ran across in my prison history.
Ooh, that's saying a lot. Wow.
Man.
And he has the sweetest voice.
Charlie's out now and living in San Francisco.
When are you going to be in L.A.? When are you going to be in L.A.?
Yeah, I got some news. Might not be too good for you fellas.
What do you mean?
Man, they got me on the terminal list and cut short.
Oh, dude, come on, man.
I got stage 4 cancer. I had cancer 5 years while I was in there, prostate cancer. They never told me about it. I don't see it till I get out and get my prison medical records. I didn't see it. My doctor saw it. And I'm on the downhill side of this rascal right now.
Oh, Charlie, we love you. I'm so sorry to hear that.
Yeah, no, I'm blessed, man. I'm here. Every day I'm here, I'm blessed.
Well, look, hey, man, it was definitely good talking to you, man. I'm going to pass your number on to the fellas, man.
Boy, y'all don't know how good this made me feel, and I was laying up here feeling kind of bad for a minute.
Aww.
Well, we love you, man, and we're thinking about you a lot. And
I'm still singing off key.
Yeah, Richie say you still singing off key, man.
Hey, continue to always do that. It's beautiful. I think about you guys all the time, man.
Charlie, we love you, man.
God bless you. Shit. That's one love.
A week or so after we got back from L.A., we went to visit old Charlie.
Well, actually, I mean,
Yes.
what's today?
Today is my birthday, August 11th,
How old are you?
29.
Well, happy birthday.
Yeah, I'm 69 today.
Yeah.
And blessed.
Yeah.
Overly blessed. And I have to smile every day. My worst days, I get up and get gone. You know, I'm not going to lay down in no misery because you'll wake up in it. And I get up, get gone. I get to feeling better, get to moving. I'm back on.
Erlon, I was a little nervous to see him.
Why?
Because I knew he was sick and it had been so long. And, you know, when we first saw him that day, he had lost so much weight.
I know you was like, whoa.
Whoa, I did not expect that. But he was also Charlie. You know, he was like super dapper. His jeans were pressed. He had those like nice dress shoes, his gold ring, and I think necklace. It was just Charlie.
And he made sure he let us know he had a fast motorized wheelchair.
This is true. We had to keep up with him going down the hallway. So, of course, once we settled in and caught up, we had to ask him to play a song.
What's today?
Today is Charlie's 69th birthday.
They call it Stormy Monday, but Tuesday's just as bad. They call it Stormy Monday, but Tuesday's just as bad. Wednesday's worse, and Thursday's also sad. Now Friday the eagle flies, and so do I. Said the eagle flies on Friday, and so do I. Now check this out. You know what happened on Saturday? Saturday I go out to play, but here's the good part. And Sunday I go to church, get down on my knees and pray. What do you pray? I said, Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy on a poor little soul like me. See, you bless me with friends like Erline and Nigel, you see. I have no worries, 'cause you always been there for me. That's Stormy Monday. Ear Hustle is produced by Nigel Poor Earlonne Woods, Rashawn New York Thomas, John Yaya Johnson, Rashid Zinnerman, and Bruce Wallace, with the help of Tony Fatoya.
It is sound designed and engineered by Antoine Williams, with music by Antoine David Jossi and Rashid Zinnerman. Amy Standen edits the show. Shubnam Sigman is our digital producer, and Julie Shapiro is the executive producer for Radiotopia. Thanks to Richie, Resita, and Indigo Mateo, who also spoke to us for this episode. Ear Hustle would also like to thank Warden Ron Broomfield. And as you know, every episode of Ear Hustle has to be approved by this guy here.
This is Lieutenant Sam Robinson, the Public Information Officer at San Quentin State Prison. And again, I say Ear Hustle has missed the mark and have made a mistake. Last time I complained about there not being any country music, any, with our history with Johnny Cash and Merle Haggard and everyone else. Still, we missed the mark with a whole genre that's very, very important to this country. So I will say I approve this episode, but we're missing something. This is Lieutenant Sam Robinson, the Public Information Officer at San Quentin State Prison. Yes, I do like music, and yes, I do approve this episode.
This podcast was made possible with support from the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative, working to redesign the justice system by building power and opportunity for communities impacted by incarceration.
Ear Hustle is a proud member of Radiotopia from PRX.
Radiotopia is a collection of independent listener-supported podcasts, some of the best podcasts around. Hear more at radiotopia.fm.
Charlie and Richie back together again.
Quentin Blue.
Love it. Thanks,
Definitely.
guys. I'm Nigel Poor.
And I'm Earlonne Woods. Thanks
for listening.
Wait a minute.
What?
We got something else. What we got?
We have another little special tidbit.
Yes, we trying to do that. Surprise y'all, just in case y'all turn this off. Y'all gonna miss this. Y'all gonna come back for it.
We have a ghost track from our very own sound designer.
Yes. Antoine Banks Williams.
Where do I start? Where do I end? I'm stepping out so I can show what is within. Life is a cycle, this a universal blend. My blood is all in the soil, me and Mother Earth is kin. No time to grin, over all the time I spent. Well over a decade, got me thinking about many men. In it to win, I'm pushing 100%. I'm focused, I got this driving, you can see straight through the tent. Cool as the air I've been. Priceless, I am a gem. Time flying just like a bird and I'm feeling one with the wind. I'm about to go for the win, I'm going out on a whim. I'm suited, fitted for greatness, you can see it in the hymns. Blessed to condemning all the prisons that I've been. Hated cause of my skin, but still bright, I would ever dim. Go for a swim and you can say that this a wave. And I promise it's gonna get deep, no shallow person gets saved. If this my one chance to speak to the people, I'ma say feel the earth that's beneath you. Stay grounded, whatever road you on, always stay balanced. I just lost my brother, I know that the Lord found him. So I'ma choose to celebrate, don't hesitate. Find joy and let it resonate, give me a second. I inhale and exhale these blessings. I'm just living out a plan that's destined. Where do I start? Where do I start? Where do I end? Tell me where do I end? Life is a journey, I'm just sharing where I've been. Hey, I need a moment, I need a moment. All I got is these moments, and all I got is these moments. I'm in a moment, I can see just where I've been, man. I say, where do I start? Tell me where do I start? Where do I end? Tell me where do I end? Life is a journey, I'm just sharing where I've been. Journey, and I'm just sharing where I've been. I need a moment, I need a moment. All I got is these moments, man, all I got is these moments. I'm in a moment, I can see just where I've been. I can see where I've been. There is no turning back. Connection, historically destined to speak for the resting, the past and the present. We share a complexion. I'm learning they lessons. The world is like a weight, it's a ton of oppression. Not stressing, not vexing, strong but not flexing. And prison is a business everybody investing. Built with no exits. Tell me where are we headed? Right into a hell if we don't stand on our blessings. I was born to be legend. I'm going bigger than Texas. Up all night because a bigot is restless. I've been affected, treated than less than, and never seen as right, but I can ball with my left hand. So I refuse to just let my image confuse those that'll watch. I let the critics get fooled. I used to clean up, but man, I'm coming anew. Perception is everything. I'm covered in truth. Now I'ma reboot my hard drive. Don't archive memories of a false life. You see that I'm alright. Home is a dogfight. Inspections in the morning, so we cleaning up all night. Is this what they call life? Bound and I'm hogtied. The world is so cold and I'm feeling the frostbite. I be the fall guy, standing in harsh light. Call it my jihad because I'm mourning a lost life. For Where real. do I start? Where do I start? Where do I end? Tell me, where do I end? Life is a journey. I'm just sharing where I've been. Hey, I need a moment. I need a moment. All I got is these moments. And all I got is these moments. I'm in a moment. I can see just where I've been, man. I say, where do I start? Tell me, where do I start? Where do I end? Tell me, where do I end? Life is a journey. I'm just sharing where Life's a journey. And I'm just sharing where I've been. I need a moment. I need a moment. All I got is these moments. And all I got is these moments. I'm in a moment. I can see just where I've been. I can see where I've been. There is no turning back.
Man, I got my Muslim brother over here dancing. What's up with that, big brother? Praise God, man. Amen.
I need to drop this phone so we can use it on Ear Hustle.
Radiotopia.